Welcome back to Rob Watches, where I look at the latest animated TV shows and movies. Today I'm going to be talking about Epic 2 Electric Boogaloo, also known as Strange Magic. Strange Magic is the latest attempt by George Lucas to try and get people to like him again. George, I promise you, we want to love you again. You're just making it too difficult. He was working on this movie for quite some time. It was a project for his daughters, and he described it as Star Wars for girls. Because as we know, girls don't like Star Wars. No girl has ever liked Star Wars. Are you crazy? Girls like girly things like My Little Pony. What kind of world do you think we live in? The announcement for this movie kind of came out of nowhere too. It was late in 2014. And the marketing for this was just kind of all over the place. So it was clear that nobody really knew what to do with this movie. The first trailer came out and it was just a generic trailer. It didn't really say anything about the movie. And then new trailers came out advertising it as a creature feature, which kinda, it was, sorta, it had creatures in it. In fact, a lot of the promotional material I found had a bunch of the creatures on the poster, none of whom were the main character, I might add. I mean, just look at what I found here. Look at this poster. Pretend you don't know anything about this movie. Just by looking at this, do you know what this movie's about? I didn't really want to pay attention to trailers either because I just don't trust trailers anymore. Trailers usually lie to us. They try to advertise a completely different movie. Then you go in and you think, like, that wasn't what the trailer said. Disney is very famous for this. If you go and look at the old trailers for stuff like Tangled, they made it into like a fun rock and roll road trip movie. And then when you go see the movie, as good as it was, that's not really what it was. Frozen's another good example of that. Just look at the old trailers for Frozen. It's all about Olaf and the reindeer. And that's not what the movie was about. So, I just don't trust trailers. I make my own decisions, thank you very much. Which is why I usually end up going to see movies like this. So because the trailers and the promotional material were completely misleading, this movie was about love. It's a love story, basically. In fact, it opens up with the main character, Marianne, singing Falling in Love with You by Elvis, which, by the way, they did in Book of Life, and honestly, I thought Book of Life did it a lot better. So let me start with what I liked about this movie. Number one, and most importantly, there were no humans in this movie. That's one of the things this movie has over Epic, because when was the last time we had a movie where we had mythical, magical creatures, or whimsical, fun lands, or faraway places, and we just had to have humans butt their way into it, you know, given modern catchphrases completely dating the movie. This movie was also a musical, and I didn't really know about that till I went to go see it. Again, not mentioned in the trailers. But honestly, this one was okay, and I'm not a big fan of musicals at all, even ones by Disney, but I kind of liked this one. A lot of the songs were, you know, recognizable. They had Falling in Love with You by Elvis. They had a bunch of pop songs, and I don't follow pop, so I can't drop names or titles or anything like that. I just recognize them by how they sound because that's all they play at my day job. I should also mention in this that the voice actors all sang. Usually in a movie they have to get a professional singer to take over when a character has a musical number, but no, everybody sang. It was great. They did a really good job. And you don't see that very often. The character design and the animation are great. And the environment is very lush and immersive. It's very well detailed. There's, you know, a lot of small characters, and you see them standing on the forest floor, and it looks like you're right there because the rocks are covered in moss, and you can see the details on the bark of the trees. The overall design was incredible. Everything was so detailed. All the characters looked very nice. The creatures, the animals in it looked very well done, very detailed, very realistic. Everything moved organically. The way this movie looked might be the strongest thing about it. Although my favorite thing about this movie might be the villain, the Bog King. He was really fun. And let me just explain something. Even in a bad movie, I am totally okay with a villain who makes an entrance using a rock ballad. There's a scene where the fairies are having a dance or something, and on stage they have a band. So he had his minions slowly like kidnap each member of the band and take over their instruments, and then he had them like play him into the dance. It was great because they just went, "Da-na-na-na, I'm evil." Alan Cummings, you are awesome. The thing is, like I said before, I'm not a big fan of musicals, and this movie had a lot of music, like a lot of musical numbers, and I felt like it was a little too much. Like they had a Lady Gaga song, and again, I can't really identify every single song that they did because I don't follow pop music, but it got tiring after a while. Another issue, and it's something that I'm seeing a lot in a lot of movies nowadays, especially animated ones, there were a lot of unnecessary side characters. There was a couple of the Bog King's minions who tried to be main characters, or at least they kept like pushing them toward being main characters, and they just weren't. We got to see the Bog King's mother. Listen, when you have a villain and then you introduce their mom, it kind of ruins their credibility a little bit, especially considering her whole role in the movie was trying to fix her son up with, I'm gonna say girls, but they were all like creatures. Like one of them was a cockroach that stood upright and had like an hourglass figure, and cockroaches aren't sexy. That's what I'm trying to get at here. You can't have bugs in a movie and try to make it sexy. There was also an elf character, Sunny, who was in the trailers, and there's a scene towards the end of the movie where he teams up with another elf that just shows up like he didn't need to be there at all. The one that got me though was the imp, the little furry guy that was in the trailers, who was featured very prominently in the trailers. They could have very easily cut him out of the movie. He did one, maybe two things in the movie, and that's it. They didn't have anything else for him to do. Even though he is adorable and I want him to be my friend, unfortunately, he wasn't necessary. Like I said before, this is a movie about love, and in the end, everybody hooks up with somebody. Everybody gets to be with somebody else. And I guess one of the themes of this movie was getting laid prevents you from being an asshole, and that pisses me off! For the most part, I was okay with that, especially one particular couple, but I'm not going to spoil that just in case anyone actually wants to see this movie. But there was one point where this movie lost me, and it's all because of a single character. So the movie starts out with the fairy girl Marianne, who's singing about being in love, and she's going to be married to this very suave, handsome-looking blonde fairy guy. He kind of looks like a combination of Elvis and Matthew McConaughey, but way more douchey. But anyway, they have this whole sequence where they're singing and being happy, and then sure enough, she catches him cheating on her with some other fairy girl. So she gets mad, justifiably, and then there was this whole sequence where she kind of transforms into full goth because she had these three little fairy helpers, and they like changed her clothes, that she wore armor, and then one of them, I thought this was hilarious, one of them came like swooped by her eye and just put black eyeliner around it. I have been scorned! Fetch me my black eyeliner and a My Chemical Romance CD! I thought that was hilarious. But anyway, the king, her father, tried to get her to forgive him because apparently, according to him, it was just a misunderstanding. And no, it wasn't. It was not a misunderstanding. you'd think that maybe he would say something like, oh, that was my cousin, she came by for the wedding or something. No, he straight up cheated on her, and the king just was like, no, it's okay, just forgive him, it's fine. Yeah, I did not like the king, and he wasn't there much, but the few scenes he has were kind of cringe-inducing. And as if that wasn't bad enough, there's another scene at the end of the movie where we resolve a subplot between Sunny the elf and Marianne's sister Dawn, and it's established that Sunny has been her best friend forever, and he has feelings for her. So naturally, by the end of the movie, they hook up. So there's a scene where they finally get to kiss, and the king looks over and sees it, and what does he do? Oh! He faints! Can someone remind me what year it is? Because last time I checked, it's no longer weird for two people of the same sex to be seen together. But you're throwing the old cliche of a taboo interracial relationship in this movie? So overall, what did I think of this movie? Well, to be honest, I didn't hate it. It didn't turn out to be as bad as I thought it would be. Basically, I had the same reaction to this movie as I did with Frozen, where the things it did right, it did really right, but the things it did wrong were really wrong. I would honestly deem this movie watchable at best, so if you like musicals, if you like love stories, if you love CGI, if you love really good CGI, then maybe wait till it comes out on Netflix and rent it or something. As for everyone else, there's a lot of better movies you could be spending your time watching. I hear Song of the Sea is finally going to come to the US on DVD soon. Maybe I'll check that out. But anyway, that's all I got for Strange Magic. Leave a comment below and let me know what you thought. My name is Rob, and have a wonderful day. That's the new send-off.